Tonight's midterm primary in Michigan could be the ultimate test for the Medicare for All platform in the Democratic Party. It's already been a cornerstone of Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed's messaging, a promise of working towards universal health care at a time when costs are skyrocketing. Meanwhile, his opponent, Haley Stevens, is offering to work within the current health care framework rather than trying to rehaul it altogether. The Bulwark's Jonathan Cohn notes, quote, for voters here who care about health, here he's referencing Michigan, who care about health care, weighing the two candidates means considering the different policy paths they recommend. Jonathan Cohn is with us now from Michigan, and Dave Wasserman and Rick Wilson are also still with us. John, the reality is fewer Americans can afford their health care, and enrollment in the Affordable Care Act plans has dropped by millions after the cuts from the Trump administration. Is the Medicare for All messaging resonating within the Democratic base, what you're seeing from voters there, and could it actually transcend party affiliation?
Yeah, so there's absolutely no question that the Medicare for All message has gained in popularity. People talk about it. The really important asterisk on this, I think, is that when, Abdul El-Sayed, he's a very good advocate for this. I mean, he's a doctor. He's an epidemiologist. He wrote a book on the subject. He knows how to explain it. When he explains it as he doesn't go into the policy details. He talks about the importance of making sure that healthcare is a right. And, there are different ways to do that. Medicare for All is one way to do it, potentially a very good way to do it if you believe in that. There's other ways to sort of build on the system. And I can tell you, when I've interviewed voters just last night at actually his event, I interviewed some voters who said they were really passionate about Medicare for All. And I asked them what it was. They said, I want to know that I have that right to health care. It will always be there, that it'll be affordable. So, Medicare for All is a way of signaling that you really care about that. It's a way to get to universal health care. Obviously, if, we got to a point where we elected a Congress and a president who were interested in working on this again, whether we would move towards Medicare for All or to continue to build on the existing programs or maybe some kind of mishmash in between, I think that would be the debate to have. But right now it's resonating because it's a way of saying everyone will have health care and people desperately need that.
Is there a risk in Abdul El-Sayed planting his flag, I should say, on Medicare for All when, obviously getting across the finish line with this, we've never seen it. So, it could be a failing enterprise. Is there a risk there?
Sure. So, Medicare for All, it sounds great when you first explain it. Like any healthcare scheme, it has its pluses and minuses. One of them is that people who have private insurance now would have to switch into this new system. The government would have a lot more control over spending. So that's a lot of disruption. People can get scared of that. We've seen polling on this. People do get skittish. On the other hand, there's a lot, it's got a nice, easy sales pitch. And certainly Abdul El-Sayed makes that pitch well. And so, and in the hands of someone like him, he would argue, look, I have this background as a doctor. I can really pitch this as, this may sound scary, but do you really want to stay with the system you have? Do you want to keep dealing with private insurance and these large deductibles? So, there are arguments on both sides. It's definitely got vulnerabilities, but also it has certain appeal.
Rick, Semaphore reports that advocacy group Care Can't Wait will be launching digital ads in battleground congressional districts, targeting vulnerable Republicans over the cost of health care. Can Republicans counter that messaging? What tools do they have in their pockets for this?
Well, look, the only tool they have is scare tactics. But one of the dirty secrets of the Republican Party is that their uptake of using Obamacare, ACA coverage in states is as high as or equal to the Democrats' uptake of it. They are feeling the same extreme economic pressure on healthcare that every other American is feeling. And so I think it's going to be a lot harder for them this year to just yell communism about healthcare and pretend that that's going to work when, working Republican families are feeling the same pressure, the same heat, the same terror that American families are seeing when they watch their health care bills ratchet up and up and up and up every quarter.
You've got some Republicans trying to run ads on health care, Rick, in a different way. NPR is noting that Congressman Mike Lawler in New York is touting Medicaid reform in his ads. How can Republicans reconcile the actions that they've taken and that they've made health care more unaffordable in some cases, more inaccessible in some cases, with a message that they're just trying to, and this is what I've heard from Republicans I've spoken to when it comes to the One Big Beautiful Bill, they were trying to preserve programs like Medicaid and Medicare and improve access to health care.
Look, I think for guys like Mike Lawler, who votes with Donald Trump 97% of the time, it's really hard to make that case when you look at their record since Donald Trump took office again last year. They have spent the vast majority of their time either trying to give Elon Musk a tax cut with the big bad bill, or this year trying to pass the SAVE Act to disenfranchise millions of American voters. They've never shown any action on the floor. They've never shown any real momentum on trying to do healthcare improvement or reform until they're under terrible electoral pressure. So I think it's pretty thin for guys like Lawler and others to sort of suddenly have this road to Damascus conversion on healthcare.
You got to give them an A for effort. Dave, progressives are winning their primaries on this type of messaging, but that's happening in districts where Democrats are almost guaranteed a win in November in deep, deep blue areas. Can progressives actually break through in more purple districts?
We're about to find out. And there have been a few cases where they have. But look, if Democrats were in control in Washington and proposing Medicare for all, then I think it would be underwater with voters. We've seen that in polls before. However, Republicans are the party in charge. And so the combination of war and inflation has caused this lurch to the left on the Democratic side, and we've seen it increase in the past month, not just in Colorado and New York City, but we're looking at a couple of competitive districts, including Michigan 7, Michigan's Senate race, where progressives who advocate for abolishing ICE and Medicare for all could be breaking through. And that is not likely to cost them victory as long as President Trump's approval rating in those places is in the 30s. However, that's primarily because there was no cover from the White House for the 17 Republicans who voted to extend ACA subsidies and get a deal done to avert this Obamacare cliff. And as a result, millions of Americans' premiums are spiking, or at least the ones who are on marketplace plans, as well as those nearly $1 trillion in federal cuts to Medicare, to Medicaid spending and SNAP spending. And so that's the Democrats' message, that he's funding a ballroom at the expense of your health care, and it's effective for the midterms.
Dave, really quickly before we go, I know you touched on the 7th congressional district. Just give us the TLDR on that race, since we shouldn't forget it. Yeah, there are two center-left Democrats with national security profiles running, Bridget Brink and Matt Mazdam. Alyssa Slotkin is supporting Mazdam. That's opened a lane for a co-founder of the Sunrise Movement, Will Lawrence, to possibly take on Republican Tom Barrett. This is one of the seats that will determine House control, and it's making some Democrats nervous.